is Helen Jennings, and I'm delighted to welcome you to my Make and Take project for this stamp camp where we're playing with the modern Christmas suite. So I'm very much looking forward to sharing my project with you, and I hope you are enjoying all of the projects. So let us bring in my downward facing camera. And if I show you the project that we are aiming for. So I have created a project with, as I've called it, a pop of colour. So adding a little bit of colour to that DSP in the background and reflecting that in the trees and things on the front. So that's where we are going. That's where we are aiming for. So your Make and Take kit should contain basic black card base, basic white insert, and then you should have a piece of old olive that is in metric 14.4 by 10. In imperial, that will be 5 1/4 by 4. Doing my maths off the top of my head. And as you can see, we're going to cut some bits out of that mat, and then you will have a strip of old olive, and you'll have a piece of basic black that we are going to be used to do some die cut stamping and die onto and die cutting out of. In addition to those pieces in your Make and Take kit, you will need this piece of DSP. Now I think this is listed as pattern number 9 and this as pattern number 10, and both pieces of DSP we are using are from this sheet, but we are using one side for one bit and the other side for the other. So you will need a piece of 13.9 by 9.5 of this tree DSP, which is 5 inches by 3 3/4. And then you will need a piece that is 3 centimeters by 9.5 centimeters of the stars. And that is, I think, 1 1/4 inches by 4, if I remember right. Let's look at 10 by 3. So 3 centimeters by 10 or 1 1/4 inches by 4 is what you will need for that piece. Okay. I'm telling you fibs altogether. It's this piece that is 3 centimeters by 10 or 1 1/4 by 4. Your DSP needs to be 2.5 by 9.5 or 1 inch by 3 3/4. Your instructions are right. You've written the instructions, but yes. So your little piece of DSP is going to mat beautifully onto there. So that is the bigger piece. This is the smaller piece. So that's where that is going to go. Let me move this out of the way. And the instructions start obviously with folding your card base in half. So that's scoring it at 10.5 centimeters or 4 1/4 inches, and then folding it to make your card base. And then we're going to take this old olive piece. Now this old olive piece is going to become that mat, but before we make it a mat, we're going to cut some trees out of it. So as you can see, I have taken this stamp here, the narrower of the tree stamps, and I have stamped it twice in the center of this old olive mat, and once heading up the right way up, and the other one I've swiveled round and made it upside down, just because it takes up a bit less space than on your cardstock. So we're going to cut these trees. You just need to be able to cut 2 trees out of the middle of your card, but leave enough space around it for it to still be fully functioning mat under your DSP layer. So let's cut these out. I've already stamped these, as you can see. I've already stamped those 2 trees. Let's cut those out. Got my stamping cut and emboss off to one side of me. So there is one, and then we'll take this over here. Gently putting on that low tack tape, turn it round, and we'll take our second tree out of there. So you do need to make sure when you're stamping your trees that you leave enough gap in between the two to be able to die cut them. Might even want to use your die to help you to space those to ensure that you've got enough room. There we have our two trees. Now, having put our two trees, there, so I know where they are when I want them next. I'm going to take some adhesive, your adhesive of choice. I've got some multi-purpose adhesive here on the back of there, and then I am going to add that to my card front. Now, obviously, that looks a little bit weird at the moment because we have a hole in the middle, but that's okay. That hole will subsequently be covered up. And we'll come to those in a moment. Now I'm going to bring in my DSP. Now my DSP, as you can see, I have started to do things with it. And what I have started to do with it is to colour in my trees. Now I'm just looking around. I had everything ready to go. Where are you, pencil? There you are. I have got an old olive watercolour pencil here. And all I'm doing is simply the white back trees with the white outline I'm leaving as they are, but the other trees, the white trees, I am taking my watercolour pencil and I am adding some old olive to those trees. Now I'm not worrying about getting into all the tips on all of them. I'm leaving some of them with some white tips so that it looks, so they almost look sort of icy snow tipped trees. I'm going in and adding slightly darker shading in the centre. I'm going to add a bit more dark shading to the centre of that one. So just simply adding a bit of colour to those trees, and it just really alters the look of that DSP. I know there have been some comments from some people that they're not too sure about black and white for Christmas. Well, if you're not too sure about black and white for Christmas, I think it looks stunning. If you're not sure, if you're sending the card to somebody that you think wouldn't be sure, well then add in a bit of colour. There's no reason why you couldn't add colour, lots of different colours, lots of trees. You could lots of trees, different colours. You could have rainbow trees. You could just colour in a few of them. The world is your oyster. So I did some of the trees so that I wasn't having to colour them all in. As you can see, I'm not taking hours. You could even add in a couple of trees and bring in your blender pens and make them a little bit two-tone. A couple of different colours. Right. Let's just not forget these little bits that are sticking up here on the bottom. We'll add some colour to those too. So we've just coloured in all of those trees on that DSP. to give it, as the card suggests, a pop of colour. Right, so let's stick that now to our card base. No one is any the wiser that our old olive mat has got 2 tree-size holes in the middle of it. Now we're going to bring in our strip and our strip of old olive and our strip of the DSP that's got the gold stars on it. That one's cut quite nicely. You could have another strip of trees if you want to, but I'm going to use gold stars just for a little bit of contrast. We're going to stick that across the middle. We're going to bring in our 2 old olive trees in a minute. We'll stick those on there now, and we'll come back to those, because now I'm going to bring in this piece of black card. And as you can see, I have already gone ahead and I have stamped the sentiment and the star on this piece of black card, and I've heat embossed those in gold. Now I'm going to cut these out, and then I will come back to that other piece. Now, the reason I'm doing this in 2 steps is because there is a danger if you try and do it in 1 step, because the sentiment and the star is heat embossed in gold, but the tree that we're going to stamp is heat embossed in white. There's a bit of a danger that you might get a bit of cross-contamination of your embossing powders if you try to do them in 1 step. So I'm going to die cut this first. So that's stamped the little star from the stamp set in Versamark and heat embossed that with gold embossing powder. One out. Make our little gold star. And then the sentiment, which is also from the set, the 'Tis the Season. I've heat embossed that in gold as well. Just having a little rummage around because I've been on holiday and got a few bits with me, and I think it includes the scissors that I'm looking for. Yeah. Here we go. So this 'Tis the Season. We're going to fussy cut. And we'll come around the outside of that. Right, let's put that to one side for a minute because we shall want that bit of card. And we come. Tis the season to be jolly. Fa la 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 la. We have got some fa la 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 paper, I think, haven't we, in this bundle? Right, I'm going to bring back in this piece of card here, which is the other side of that piece of black card that you've got in your kit. Let's add a bit more with my embossing budgie there. And I'm going to bring in this other tree. So this tree we used for our old olive trees, and this tree we're going to use to stamp onto here. We're going to heat emboss this in white, so I'm going to ink it up with my Versamark. I'm going to stamp it that way because it's a little bit wider at that top piece than it is at this bottom piece. Stamp that onto there. Bring in some white embossing powder. So the colours of these trees that we're going to be putting on the front are very much reflecting the colours of the trees on the DSP. So we've got our old olive trees to reflect the trees that we've coloured in. And then this is a black and white tree. Let's find ourselves a little paintbrush of some sort. Oh, caught that on the edge. Here. We are going to be die cutting, so we don't need to worry too much as long as there's no excess powder around where we're going to die cut it. So I think that will do nicely. And we have our nice black and white tree. Pop that powder out of the way so that we don't knock it over. I'm just going to put my heat gun on. Heat that up. And it'll be a job probably to pick it up on camera, but it does turn a brighter white as the powder melts. Right, so we have other dye. Just give that a second just to cool down slightly. And then we have the tree dye. And we'll cut out this image. My sticky is sticking to me and not where I want it to stick. Right, there we go. And that's with a button emboss. That out. Put that to one side. Now we have our two old olive trees and our black and white tree. I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive down that side. Ooh. And a little bit of adhesive down that side. We'll make our little cluster of 3 trees. Like that. And then we will add that trio of trees onto our card front. Dimensionals on. Did of course use larger dimensionals, just these were under my nose. So these are the ones I've picked up. Take off the backings. I believe that's last but not least. Let's bring in our card. We will pop our trio of trees on here. And add a little spot of adhesive to the top of that tree, and add in my gold star. And I'm going to take some of the black and gold black and gold twine. Oh dear, words. Tie ourselves a largish bow with that twine. Snip that off. To take a glue dot. The glue dot in the centre of that bow, and I'm going to add this bow to the back of this sentiment, giving it a bit of a twizzle, and then I will add, and I do want the mini ones this time, some mini dimensionals to the back of here, one in the middle there. We'll add that sentiment to the centre of our trees. And then to finish off the front, I'm going to take some iridescent foil gems. I'm sure I've got them somewhere that I've already started, but that's okay. We'll go with these. Few of these popped around. The nice thing when you've got an iridescent sort of effect like this, they do tend to pick up the colours that are around them. So that's our front of our card. Your white piece you'll want as an insert. I have gone ahead and I have already stamped one of those narrower trees onto my insert in Old Olive and stuck that inside of my card. So there is my card, the pop of colour using the Modern Christmas. But obviously, because, as I said, there's no reason why you have to go with Old Olive. Got another little sample here just to show you what it would like if you'd have done exactly the same thing, but used Melon Mambo for a real pop of colour. So yeah, and this time I've used the white and the gold trim on that. So yeah, you can really have fun changing up all of that DSP to whatever colour you like. You could nice blue or whatever colour, depending on what colour watercolour pencils you've got, you could adapt this card to make a whole host, a rainbow of Christmas trees. So I hope you have enjoyed that little project and you will give it a go, and perhaps have a go at some different colours as well. And I'd love to see any that you do make. It would be lovely to see a whole rainbow of trees But enjoy the stamp camp, and I will be back with my live project sometime over the weekend. But until then, I will see you very soon.